Hey people, it is Wednesday, January the 15th. The time is 3:46 in the afternoon and is currently -3 Celsius, feeling more like -9 with the wind. Definitely a bit of a wind chill effect. We're in mid-January already, which is hard to believe. And it is snowing, as you can see. We have a bit of snow coming down. I'm on the far eastern side of downtown, currently on Lower River Street. We're in the Corktown neighborhood, and I thought I would take a walk through Corktown. We'll check out the King Street stretch through the area, and also some of the Queen Street stretch, and maybe a few side streets we'll check out where some of the awesome old historic housing stock can be found. I'm not sure if the snow will come down any harder as we walk through the area. That would be nice. But in any case, I guess this counts as a snow walk. You can see there's still some snow left on the ground from our recent snowfall that gave us maybe somewhere around 5 centimeters or so, maybe a bit more. Nothing major. But it's been cold enough ever since then that the snow hasn't melted yet. So here's where King Street begins or ends, depending on which way you're going. Right up ahead is where Queen Street merges with King Street. Queen Street continues on over the Queen Street Viaduct, which passes over the Don River and Don Valley Parkway, and goes into the east end of the city in the Riverdale neighborhood, or the Riverside neighborhood, as it's also called, for that stretch. But let's start walking along King Street, heading west through Corktown. To the north is the Regent Park area. If you continue along River Street, this is one of the oldest parts of the city. There are still lots of buildings from the mid-19th century. And I think a few older than that. We might pass by one or two buildings dating from the 1830s. That's around the time when the town of York became the city of Toronto. These light flurries don't really stick to anything. They just glance off the camera, so it's nice not to have to worry about protecting my camera during a snow walk. I've done some snow walks before with much heavier, wetter snow. That resulted in damage to the memory card and loss of a video. I don't want to repeat that again. I do have a little piece of tape over the slot where the memory card is, though, just in case. I learned my lesson. So some of these buildings are undoubtedly quite old. You'll find plaques on some of the commercial buildings that are historic, letting you know what they were, when they were built. Not so much with the residential buildings, though. But you find these little side streets around with old row houses. Crossing Sumac Street. That's quite a nice little row there. I've never really taken note of that one too much in my previous walks through the area. I like how each section has its own color scheme. And there's Bright Street. That's a neat street. I might come back to that a bit later in the video. Maybe from the Queen Street section of the neighborhood. I always get a kick out of this whenever I see it. There's really nothing up there though. If you're expecting to find something up there, you'll be disappointed. Gusto 501. This place is pretty hopping oftentimes. I was keeping an eye out for these historic plaques. This building doesn't seem to have one. These storefronts. Bit of a wind chill situation big time today. There's more old townhouses over there. Those ones are certainly 19th century vintage. The 504 King streetcar. That one's heading to the distillery, where the distillery loop is. Thought I'd let that guy pass me. Well, he turned the corner anyway. Something new is going in here. these weird sort of auto type shops here. This area is a bit transitional. Lots of sort of semi-industrial type buildings littering the area. Most of those are disappearing though with every passing year and being replaced by new residential developments. And here's one of those very old buildings I was speaking about. This is the Little Trinity Church. I think this is the first or the oldest church in Toronto that's still operating. Founded in 1842. Started construction in 1843. It's been going ever since. And I think this house is also of the same vintage. The Little Trinity House. It's crazy to think that you could go back so far in time and be standing on King Street and these buildings would be there. Coming onto Parliament Street. So this is sort of the boundary that divides Corktown from Old Town. Old Town continues on, heading west along King Street. So I think I will head back up to Queen. Another awesome old building here. Never really noticed this fire escape before. Looks like you need a ladder to get to that ladder though. And this building dates from 1909, so not quite as old. I think this area was called Corktown due to all the Irish immigrants who moved to the area and settled it back in the 19th century. Another neighborhood known for its Irish heritage is Cabbagetown, which is also an old Eastside neighborhood, not too far away from here. Not much to walk along on this part of Adelaide Street. It just leads basically to the on-ramps that will take you onto the Don Valley Parkway. I think there are proposals all around this area though for new towers, replacing some of the old low-rise houses that are still around the area, such as right over here. Those ones look very old. This is a new building with a very fancy furniture store here. Two very fancy furniture stores side by side. And on King Street east through Old Town, you'll find many more furniture stores. I think this is sort of the furniture district, if you had to name it. Yeah, this lot is ripe for redevelopment here with this car wash on the corner. Car wash. These very old houses. Looks like a bakery is opening here. It's nice to see these new retail spots get filled up in these new buildings. Sometimes it takes a long time. All depends on the location. And here's where Richmond Street sort of comes off of the Don Valley Parkway if you're coming into downtown. It's really just King and Queen Street that are sort of the walkable main streets of Corktown. And I suppose a bit of Front Street, or Eastern Avenue to the south. See the financial district off to the west. And one of the last remaining gas stations within the boundaries of downtown. Right on the edge of the on and off ramps. Last chance for gas before you get on the highway. And this was a Shoppers Drug Mart on the corner of Queen and Parliament, but it's closed down now. This building is going to be demolished sometime in the near future. They moved to another location. There's the Moss Park Apartments and the Moss Park neighborhood. Off in that direction is the infamous intersection of Queen and Sherbourne. I think a residential tower will replace this old Shoppers Drug Mart building. And Queen Street here is a bit more heavy on the retail than King Street. So this is what will replace the Shoppers Drug Mart. It's like two buildings. I'm not sure if that's still the current proposal or not. Those things are like popping up all over the place now. Used to be a bit of a rarity to see them, not so much anymore. One of the most prominent buildings in the neighborhood. St. Paul's Basilica Parish. At one time, no doubt, this was the tallest structure in the whole east side of downtown, if not one of the tallest structures at downtown, period, when it was built. I'm not sure what year this was built, though. I might be walking towards something I just recently learned that's kind of notable. I think it's 505 Queen Street East, so it should be just up ahead a little ways. I'll keep an eye out for it and then I'll tell you what it used to be. Another one of these little dead-end side streets. There's the 501 Queen. That one's going all the way to Humber. This awesome old building is home of Vistec. Awesome place to go if you're into photography and video. All right, now here's Bright Street. I might come back to that, but I wanted to check out, well, actually I can just zip around. So we'll just take the walk down Bright Street, back down to King, but then I'll just go back up to Queen again to take us to 505 Queen. Maybe I'll end the video at 505 Queen. dropping a little bit of cool Toronto history in terms of the entertainment industry. So here's Bright Street. I always thought this was one of the neatest residential streets in the city. These are old workers' homes built in this very tightly packed in row house style, 19th century era. I just like how the street goes around a bend. I always notice that some of the houses seem to be leaning a bit. They're not quite level or not quite straight. Maybe it's just an illusion. We're back at King Street, but just for a moment. So yeah, always worth a look at Bright Street whenever I'm in the area. And we'll take Sumac Street back up to Queen. Another one of these auto parts places here. Looks like the snow has pretty much stopped. It's supposed to snow harder, not less. Get with the program, Mother Nature. At least while I'm recording, anyway. The Magic Building. Looks like something out of Harry Potter. What is that up there? Is that a witch? That's intriguing. People in there are doing magical things, maybe. See a lot of books, magic books. And we're back at Queen Street. Keep an eye out for 505. What is the address here? 481. Okay. Should be coming up. Looks like those ones are all vacant. $4.95. And here it is, 505. So the story is that the apartment in here, or whether it's on the first or second floor or both, I'm not sure, but this was home to Dan Aykroyd from 1969 until about 1974. And he would have all sorts of parties and a bit of an after-hours club here back in those days. And this is where Dan Aykroyd first met John Belushi when John Belushi was in Toronto, visiting for showbiz reasons, I suppose. And this is where Dan and John first came up with the idea for the Blues Brothers, which of course a few years later they brought to life on Saturday Night Live when they were both cast members on that show. So that's a pretty cool thought, to think that the Blues Brothers were conceived right here at 505 Queen Street East. And I'm sure lots of other crazy hijinks took place here over those 5 years. Sort of in the heyday right before Second City really took off in Toronto, which later became the SCTV TV show. Coming back to River Street again. So I'm going to wrap things up as we're about to cross the boundary leading out of Corktown. I hope you enjoyed the walk where we checked out the Corktown area along King Street and Queen Street, with a look at Bright Street and a look at Dan Aykroyd's former home. It's pretty cool to think about if you're a fan of comedy. So leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And also make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal, as well as via my merch store. Or you can also support the channel by becoming a channel member, or by sending a super thanks if you prefer. And you can find me on Instagram also under KContinuum. So thanks for watching. And thanks to all the channel members. And be sure to keep checking back, because as always, I will continue.